welcome to Talking Jets. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my lovely co-pilot, the one, the only, Mr. Dom C. Dom, how you doing tonight?
I'm well, Ryan. Happy to be here with you, and looking forward. Well, happy that the season's over. Looking forward to the start of the offseason, the official start of the offseason.
Even though we have been here for you guys week in and week out talking about the offseason for the last few months, we are officially in offseason mode. Jets know where they're going to be picking. We've got the second pick, the 16 pick, the 33 pick, and the 44 pick. And I think Jet fans are really, really excited for that. Basically, everything, for the most part, broke the Jets' way yesterday. Depending on if you thought it was better for the Giants to have the one pick and the Jets to trade up into it, or the Giants to lose and us by default have the second pick, or Giants win and us get the second pick. But the Jets, with the Raiders winning, wind up getting that 33rd pick, which I thought was super valuable to see happen. And we'll get into all those discussions momentarily. I did put a poll question in the chat. Will Dante Moore declare for the 2026 NFL draft? You guys could vote on that. That seems to be the big talking point. Todd McShay talking earlier today. Joe Douglas's former roommate at Richmond. A little salty at the Jets, advising Dante Moore he should
just a little bit.
Oh, he should go home, go back to the school, develop another year. Don't go to the Jets. It's where quarterbacks go to die, all that crap. Screw McShay. I don't care about him. But before we get into the draft side of things, Dom, any notes on the season as we kind of wrap up everything?
I would love to put a big fat bow on one Brady Cook and ship him right out to Saskatchewan to the CFL. That's what I'll say about that. Yeah, listen, I think there's going to be. Right, we've talked about it, Ryan. I'm not a big fan. Was never a big fan of the Aaron Glenn hire. I don't think he's the guy. I would have moved on after year one. I know that he's not. I know that it was never going to happen. I know he's coming back. You just hope that it doesn't have to hit any more rock bottom before you make the decision. So to move on. I'm going to say this. I hope I'm wrong. I'm a Jet fan first. I want to win. I want to win football games. I would love to be proven wrong. And Aaron Glenn proved to me that he's the best coach in the whole entire world. I don't think that's the case. I hope he makes some effective moves, especially on the offensive side of the ball, in terms of the coaches, and that can support a young quarterback that's in need of development if we do happen to grab one with the number 2 overall pick.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I was not very high on the Glenn hiring. I think there's a love for wanting someone that wants the job. I don't remember who your top choice was. I remember wanting Flores last year. Vrabel would have been the top choice, and then it was kind of obvious he wanted the Patriots job. So fine with that going that direction, I guess. But I thought Flores would have been the right move. I think based on the effort that we got from the team towards the end of the year, probably would have been the case. Vikings continued to fight hard. Seems like Flores is going to be a pretty hot candidate potentially for the Raiders job. And then, man, I don't know. It was disappointing because I went into the season thinking it was going to be a soft tank, and I think that's exactly what we got. We knew the Justin Fields signing was going to be a long shot. It was a reset of dead cap from Aaron Rodgers, and hey, at the very least, long shot for Fields to be a good quarterback. But on the downside, if he's not, is we're going to have a high draft pick, and lo and behold, we have the number 2 overall pick. And then Jet fans obviously wanted a tank. We put in Brady Cook. Brady Cook looks like an undrafted free agent quarterback, along with all the undrafted free agent players that are playing in the secondary and across the board. I think the only players that I really recognized were the offensive linemen yesterday.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Dude, it was unwatchable.
It was pretty bad.
I had it on, and I was passively watching, but I was like, More so just interested, like, all right, let's see how much we lose by. Okay, I'm secure in us losing. Now I'm going to pivot to like the Raiders game. Like, are the Raiders winning? Are they going, like, are we getting the 33rd pick? That's kind of where my head started to go. Because obviously we knew the score of the Giants game prior to the start of the 4:00 games. Yeah, I don't know. My interest is like for the coaching staff. You mentioned the offensive side of the ball. I don't know if you have any names in mind of who the Jets could bring in offensively. Defensive wise, a lot of people are starting to bring up like Raheem Morris, Jim Schwartz, guys that have been head coaches in the past. I think would be a nice get on honestly either offensive or defensive side of the ball, because if you did have to pull the plug, at the very least you have someone kind of in-house that has been able to like hold the reins in another organization. Any thoughts on having a former head coach as a defensive coordinator?
Yeah, defensive coordinator, I think that's a great idea. And I'm not opposed to bringing in a former head coach as an offensive assistant. Really, what I want to do is I want to have a buffer between Charles London and the quarterback. And that's not a good thing to say, for your quarterback coach, but Charles London had a lot of success, and he was a main reason, a key cog in Geno Smith's big year in Seattle. But he's also had 2 bites of the apple at rookie quarterbacks in Atlanta with Desmond Ridder and in Tennessee with Malik Willis, and they both failed, horribly. So, for anyone who's likes the idea of Malik Willis, and Ryan, you and I have been talking about, kind of bantering around some names for a while. Tanner McKee is one that we talked about. We talked about Malik Willis before Malik Willis was an interesting thing. With Charles London as your quarterback coach, he's not coming here. It's just flat out, plain and simple. Ain't happening.
You don't think there's any relationship there with him at all?
I think that, I think that he failed to really help Malik Willis develop when he needed it most. He was a really, really raw prospect coming out. Third round. Was he
a third round? I was gonna say third round.
He
pick.
Was third round
Ritter?
pick.
Was Ritter like fourth?
Ritter
round?
was a second round pick.
He was a second. Okay,
correct. Really, really raw. Had some strong. Had the size, had the traits, had the arm. Just really needed to learn how to play quarterback. Charles London didn't learn how to help him play quarterback, and Tennessee didn't do him any favors by kind of throwing him to the wolves. So he got his time to sit behind Jordan Love and learn behind Matt LaFleur and the team, the staff that they got up there, and they've really pulled the most out of him. So I don't think he'll come back to a Charles London coach situation. Listen, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how long the tenure of Aaron Glenn's going to be, Ryan. If I had to bet, it's probably not going to be all that long. It wouldn't kind of deter me from drafting a quarterback if there was one there at 2. Which I'm not sure there's going to be. That's for a different topic. We can delve into that later. But if there is, I'm not going to overthink it. I'm going to take one. And even though they might not have the infrastructure that could make a Dante Moore or a Fernando Mendoza, hypothetical, fingers crossed, successful right now, I think that both of those guys are talented enough that that would be intriguing for the next regime, the next head coach, the next offensive coordinator that would want to come in and work with them.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's, I don't think having Glenn for an additional year is going to like poison the well, if you will, for the rookie quarterback. Yeah. We've seen it with Trevor Lawrence, with Caleb Williams, with Cam Ward. Like the list goes on and on of rookie quarterbacks that wind up getting a coaching change after 1 year. And I think with the Jets having
it's not ideal. It's not ideal. But a good quarterback can a talented quarterback can survive it.
Yeah, and I think with the Jets having 3 first-round picks next year, the benefit of us not having to trade up for a quarterback is very, very enticing. And we'll get into a few other options because I do want to talk about that in a little bit here. Cuddy comes in. Cuddy says, you guys think we could see a 2023 Texans draft for us this year, quarterback in Bain or Reese, also would like Dom's opinion on Jacoby Lane in the second round. So I don't think we'll see a 2023 Texans draft where the Jets trade up, like draft their quarterback at 2 and then trade up for like an edge rusher like they did with Will Anderson. I think they really should make as many selections as possible and go best player across the board, like at all positions, not worry about trading up so much. There's probably certain players that maybe I'd consider it based on the value, but when you're moving up in the first round, it's probably going to cost like a first next year, or picks that are a little bit higher that you may not want to give up. So I would say no, I hope they don't go this route. And as far as, I guess Jacoby Lane, Dom, any thoughts on that? And then what are your thoughts on the Texans model?
Let's say would it be like the latter first,
like Mendoza or Dante Moore, and then Sonny Styles or something like that? Like, is there a world where you get jazzed about that?
There's a world where I would love to have Mendoza and Sonny Styles on my team. But I don't think that's the best. I don't know if I'm going to draft a quarterback at 2. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do again. I'm in the mode of kind of doing or trying things new and not repeating the same mistakes and hoping that it's just different this time. If I draft a quarterback high, I'm going to support that quarterback, right? I'm not going to draft Sam Darnold and then follow it up with 2 interior defensive linemen or 2 safeties and like that kind of stuff that the Jets had a tendency of doing. So if I go quarterback, I'm probably going to follow it up with a receiver, or a weapon of some sort. You know what I mean? I think that this class is deep enough at receiver that I might not have to do it at, with the second pick in the first round. But I'm also with you that I wouldn't necessarily want to. There's none of these edge rushers I think edge is the biggest need that the Jets have outside of quarterback. And I don't think any of these edge rushers, although they're good. There's no one that I'm dying to have that, I'm willing to give up capital from next year to go use for this year.
Yeah.
And then Jacoby, and Jacoby Lane, I don't have him as a second round grade. I have him as a 3rd to 4th round, late 3rd, early 4th grade. His skill set, he's big. I like that, but he's more of your vertical big guy. He's more of your vertical X receiver, and I think you already have that in Dante Mitchell. So the player's nice. Like he's the 14th ranked wide receiver for me, but I think he's much more of a vertical X receiver, not your prototypical power forward kind of possession guy. And I think we already have that in A.D. Mitchell. So for me, on this Jets as constituted, Jacoby Lane would probably be a hard pass.
Kyle comes in. Thank you so much for the super chat, brother. Says, I want the Jets to trade back where they can get Caleb Downs, roll with Malik Willis for a year, and get quarterback in 2027 with a boatload of picks when we trade back and from the trades this season. So I'm not necessarily opposed to skipping on quarterback at 2. I think a few things probably have to happen, but there's an interesting thought that I would now be open to, that I was not open to a little while ago. And I think it's because of how the draft class is sort of shaking out a little bit. But let's say there's a scenario, and I'm gonna spin it a little differently, Kyle, but I want to keep it in the same vein. Let's say Arizona comes calling and says, hey, we want to get up to number 2, and we want to take Dante Moore. Dante Moore doesn't want to play for the Jets. We're going to send you Kyler Murray, and we're going to give you our 3rd pick plus a 2nd and a 3rd round pick in order to move up to get Kyler Murray. So now you're taking on the contract. It's probably going to be about $45 million the first year. It's 2 years guaranteed. He's got a 3-year contract. Basically, as long as he's on the roster for, I think it's like March 22nd of this year, his 2027 salary is guaranteed. So figure 2-year contract, I want to say it's $44 million and then like $38 million and then $45 million or something for the next 3 years on the trade. But then you get a quarterback for this year. That's a bridge. you get the number 3 pick, which would, in theory, assuming it's quarterback at 1-2, you'd get the top non-quarterback plus an additional second and third round pick. And then you get, you probably don't take a swing at quarterback this year in the draft. And Glenn tries to win as many games as possible. And then next year, if Kyler doesn't work out after the season, then you have your opportunity to draft a quarterback in 2027. Not super high up on my list, but it's an interesting thought process given where AG came from in Detroit, where they made a very similar Goff trade where they got 2 first-round picks and Jared Goff on a bad contract. Bad contract, but was a salary cap dump. What would your thoughts on that scenario if that were to be presented to you, Dom?
My thoughts would be to Monty Awesome, whatever his name is, the GM in Arizona. Like, I'd like to know, are you on ayahuasca? Are you smoking the good ganja? Because I think that's a hell of an offer to move up to draft a guy that some might argue it doesn't matter if it's Mendoza or if it's Moore. Some might argue that they wouldn't draft these guys in the first round. Now, that's not me, but some people aren't very high on this thing. So that's a big package, I think, to get. Now, I understand the Jets would be taking on a lot of contract with it.
And think about it. If you were sitting in the 3 pick and you said, hey, I really like one of these top 2 quarterbacks, I would give up a second and a third round pick to get that guy. And then you're moving off your quarterback anyway. Like, to me, that's not overly wild. Like, I don't think they're getting a whole heck of a lot for Kyler Murray in a trade.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I don't know, right? But for the Jets to move, listen, if Dante Moore comes out, then I would be very hard pressed to move off of that number 2 spot. If Dante Moore comes out. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that maybe I wouldn't entertain Kyler Murray. It wouldn't necessarily mean that I wouldn't entertain a trade for Tanner McKee or trying to sign a Malik Willis. But I think I'm doing that with the expectation that those options give me the chance, what I really think is best suited for Dante Moore, and that's a full redshirt year. Without the inclination of hey, just hold, this veteran is just holding the fort down until week 8, when we get back from the bye, so we can hand it over to Dante.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I would think we'll probably stick pat. The January 23rd deadline is when players have to declare for the NFL draft. Now, I'd imagine we find out about Dante Moore before then.
Well, it's the 15th. It's next. What's the 11th?
I think it's the 23rd.
Yeah.
I think it's after the championship game.
It's if the teams are in the championship. If they're not in the championship, it's a week earlier.
Oh, okay, yes, that makes sense.
A week earlier.
So if Oregon gets knocked out by Indiana this week, we'll find out probably by Monday, I would think.
Correct.
His intentions. Yeah, man. I feel like it would be such a kick in the balls. If he goes back to school, that to me very clearly signals he doesn't want to come to the Jets.
No, Ryan, I'll push back with you. We're in the group text and all that. I've been pretty adamant he's not coming out. I don't think he's going to come out, and I don't think it has anything to do with the Jets. I'll say that. I'm not saying that with green goggles. I'll say that because I think that there's a notion of him and the brothers his brotherhood at Oregon, where they really like winning a national title means something to them. He's 20 years old. He's only got 20 starts. Although the grades or the committee's going to come back and probably give him a first round grade, I think some of the feedback he's going to get is some of the teams are concerned that hasn't matured or developed enough as a quarterback yet.
And you
so
think
what better chance to go back and get 15 more games and win the Natty with everyone, who has the opportunity to do so going back with you?
That just feels like such a ballsy move. Like you're turning down like $50 million in guaranteed money. He'll probably get like a $10 million NIL from Oregon.
Yes.
Realistically.
Yeah, and that'll be more or right on par with what he'll get year 1.
Yeah, I think it's around 12 million. I think is what they get.
And I'm sure that he takes out. At this point, you take out a Lords of London insurance plan or something like that.
Yeah, like $100 million plan.
Yeah. So if he does get hurt, he's covered. But don't rule out the idea that, like the college football experience doesn't mean something for these guys. I'm not trying to downplay the money or saying it's not just about the money, but sometimes it's not just about the money.
I'd want him to have the worst season in 2026. I would be a spiteful son of a bitch. Like that to me.
Or
like as much as it's like, okay, yeah, cool. It's the college experience. Like, dude, you've got a fat offer of being a number 2 pick. Like look at what happened to Drew Aller. Like, you cool with like this potentially happening? Like, you're okay with potentially losing your dream. God forbid something goes wrong. As long as you're okay with that, like, fucking make your bed, sleep in it. But like, man, poll question, 72% of the people in the chat think he's coming out. I'm not as confident as I was. I was pretty confident like a month and a half ago when the Jets didn't have the top 2 pick. And then that's kind of shifted as it's like very clear that we are in position to get him or Mendoza. I think he could go 1, and I think Mendoza could fall to us too. Like,
he absolutely could. He absolutely could go 1. It wouldn't like. I happen to like Mendoza more than Moore. I liked Mensa more than Moore. Moore was my number 3 before Mensa went back. But that's different. That I digress. He absolutely could go number 1. And listen, if we want, as Jets fans, we want him out. So the best thing that we can do right now, wear your green, baby. Go Oregon on Friday or Saturday, whenever they play. Friday.
I think it's Friday, 7:30. Yeah.
Go Oregon. Let Oregon go out and win the national title. He's got nothing else to prove. He comes out. All is well in the world.
Love it. If you got
to become an Oregon fan.
Dude, I'm absolutely an Oregon fan. Nothing would make me happier than watching him beat the ever-loving piss out of Indiana, because worst case scenario, he goes 1 and Mendoza goes 2. Like, I am totally happy with these guys looking as good as possible. I want to see a shootout. I want to be excited. I want no injuries and just like full steam ahead. As far as trading back, I don't think I would trade back. I think I'd stick and pick. If Dante Moore doesn't come out, then I'd entertain the idea, I guess, of like a Caleb Downs or whatever. We've talked about Sonny Styles. We've talked about 𝐷𝐷𝐿 We've talked about the wide receivers. There's a few different routes they could go, but it really feels like it should be quarterback at the top.
If it's not quarterback at number 2, okay, like let's just walk this through. Let's play this out, right?
Yep.
Dante Moore goes back to college. It's not going to be quarterback at number 2, no matter if Ty Simpson comes out or not.
Yep.
Okay.
I agree.
You really have to figure out like what the game plan is, because it's going to be out of the ordinary. There's not that one can't miss prospect, non-quarterback can't miss prospect in the class, right? Last year there was Abdul Carter. There's no Abdul Carter in this class. 𝐷𝐷𝐿 Reese might have some traits of Abdul Carter, but he has nowhere near the body size, the upside, the resume, the skill set, the game. He's not Abdul Carter, right? Hell, Mason Graham. There's no Mason Graham. There's Peter Woods. Peter Woods isn't Mason Graham. I'm trying to think who else went in the top 4. Travis Hunter was a anomaly in himself because he played both ways. So there's no real lock, there to go. Like, you could see something crazy. I don't think you'll see something crazy like Caleb Downs taken, like a safety taken at 2. Yeah, I don't even know if you take one of the wide receivers at 2. I don't know if there's a true, locked in, dead set, can't miss prospect after. Well, not even with the quarterbacks, but if you're not taking a quarterback, like, I don't know who you're taking. No one's trading up for it, and I don't know who you're taking. You could see. I know Connor Rogers talked about, like, you're going to start seeing people having David Bailey conversations at 2 overall. I think that's wild because I think he's a DPR, but
David Bailey,
edge rusher, Texas Tech.
I've not watched him. Got blitz group.
He is very one note. He's very Will McDonald.
I don't want that. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Blitz, what's up, dude? Says, I worry that one and done seasons could make coaches less likely to want to join us. Seems Raheem Morris style can mesh with AG's. Thoughts? I agree. I don't like the one and done coach, especially on a team that like very clearly coming into the year had a ton of dead cap they were working through with the Rodgers situation. You had to actually make the decision on Rodgers and kind of be the bad guy. You knew it was going to be a bad season. That's why AG got the 5-year contract. He got the fat, amount of dollars and whatnot. Very similar to like a David Culley situation in the Texans, like when they were going through the Deshaun Watson situation. It's like, oh, we just kind of need a guy to be a stopgap until we can get a good coach. Not saying that like that's exactly what Aaron Glenn is, but right now, based on what we saw this past year, Aaron Glenn's not seeming, super great. But Raheem Morris would be someone I would entertain because I like the idea of having a former head coach on the staff, whether that be Jim Schwartz, Raheem Morris. Maybe there's some offensive guys on the other side of the ball that you could consider as well. I like the idea of maybe not ripping apart the whole regime mid-season if you did want to move off AG because like things went sideways. What are your thoughts on Raheem Morris?
Listen, I think it's I talked about it a little bit yesterday. I put some stuff out in Twitter about Raheem Morris. I know he's going to be a name that's going to be linked to the Jets because of his relationship with Aaron Glenn. I think he's going to have. First off, he's already gotten 2 requests for interviews from the Raiders and from Tennessee for the head coach job. Mm-hmm. So I think he's going to do that. I think his goal is to be a head coach, or his main focus is to try to stay as a head coach. Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't, I think that I think he's going to probably have his pick of the litter if any of these defensive coaches go away, right? Mm-hmm. Can you see him replacing Chris Shula in the Rams? Sure, he came from the Rams. Mm-hmm. Could you see him going if Chris Shula gets a head coaching job, his protege? Can you see him going to be his DC? I absolutely could. Mm. You know what I mean? What could be better for a young defensive coordinator come up than to have your mentor come and help you? I could see that. Does he replace? Does he come in and replace Eberflus in Dallas, who looks like he's on his last legs? Mm. That they come kind of from the same cloth in terms of their scheme. So he's got a lot of guys there that he wouldn't have to replace. It's not like, you're coming into Tampa where they run, an odd man front and they're blitzing all over the place to go to more of a, quarters based defense, so on and so forth. He's from the Dan Quinn tree, the Robert Saleh tree. He runs that style of defense where he wants to get home with 4, cause chaos with 4, drop 7 back, switch up his coverages and confuse you and force you into turnovers. Mm-hmm.
We could use some of that.
But that's not what Aaron Glenn does. Mm-hmm. Aaron Glenn did a lot more of what Steve Wilkes was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Just Steve Wilkes did it in he did it really, really not good. He did it really, really bad in a really, really bad way. So. I would love Raheem Morris as a, he would be behind Jim Schwartz for me. Mm-hmm. But I think he would be, right up there on the list of guys that I'd bring in as a defense coordinator. His defense is whatever the best in the league, but he was never the worst in the league either. He's right in the middle. Mm-hmm. But he coached some guys really, he made some guys really, really good. The defensive backs there in the Rams, all those safeties and all those young cornerbacks that they brought up over the past, he had a hand in bringing those guys up to snuff. The cornerback, why can't I think of his name? Terrell in Atlanta. He speaks so highly of Raheem Morris, saying he's a main reason why he's where he's at.
It would have been nice if we got that out of our head coach, the former defensive back. Really thought we were going to see a little bit more out of secondary and got a historically bad year. Cameron jumps in. What's up, dude? Says, this year's quarterback class isn't special. I'd look at Downs with one of our picks and get Boston in the second round, go all in for a quarterback next year with one of our 3 first-rounders. So, Cameron, I think a lot of Jet fans are probably feeling a similar way. Maybe not necessarily Downs, but but I think the idea of going quarterback in 2027 is really appealing. My biggest issue is that Aaron Glenn probably cannot wait till 2027. So there's like this conflict of like what maybe should happen and what is going to happen. And I also think you run into an issue with Garrett Wilson, with Breece Hall, where you kind of, not that you owe it to the guys to find a quarterback, but you kind of got to have some sort of answer after what happened the last 2 years with Rodgers and then this year with Fields. It's kind of been a shit show. So I don't know. I really think they're going quarterback at the top here for better or worse, and we just got to kind of like hope it works out. What are your thoughts, Dom?
Yeah, Aaron Glenn's not going to wait. They're not going to wait for 2027. Mm-hmm. You know, if they wait for 2027 and piecemeal the quarterback thing and go into another quote unquote soft tank with 4 games left in the season, end up 5-12, like they're on the first. They're on the first, train out of one Jets drive. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you wholeheartedly, man.
Blitz Crew says, we are getting a quarterback this year. After the kind of year we had, AG will get one more season to prove himself, and he knows it. So Blitz Crew echoing the same things we've been talking about as well. Completely agree with you, Blitz Crew. Sorless says, thoughts on taking defensive tackle Caden McDonald at pick 16. Is McDonald the one from Oregon? Is that the...
No, Ohio State.
Ohio State, yes.
Ohio State, yeah. He's good. 16 is too high for me. And that's just he's a one he I'm not going to say he's a one-trick pony, but he hasn't done it long enough. For my liking yet. Like, and there's nothing that's very elite in his traits or in his skill set, where Amari Washington and Caleb Banks, Amari Washington as a 1 tech and Caleb Banks as a 3 tech, they are explosive. They are dangerous. Like they have elite traits that justify interior defensive lineman going in round 1, which is why Woods and Amari Washington are the only 2 that I have first round grades on. Banks will be. I just haven't finished his actual, transferring over his grades and whatnot. But Banks will be very, very close. He's going to be on that late round 1, early round 2 kind of cusp. So yeah, Caden McDonald is. It's not that he's a bad player, but I just think for me in this class, I think you can find guys that are, that can kind of do what he does later on. I don't think it would be the best allocation of assets with a first round pick.
Hunter says, if Vegas takes Fernando Mendoza, we need to go best player available. Wait for Kyler to be cut. Let Arizona trade up to 2. Use picks for Crosby from Las Vegas while he's paid reasonably. Oof. No Dante. So a lot to unpack here. So we're going to assume Kyler gets cut and then signs with us willingly, and then Arizona also trades up to 2. And Vegas decides to move off Crosby while he's getting paid reasonably when they don't really have anyone else to pay. I love your thought process, Hunter, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think the pathway for Kyler to be a Jet, if that's kind of where you stand, was sort of what I brought up earlier, where Dante Moore's coming out. The Jets aren't necessarily sold on Mendoza or Moore. Like, they might wait till draft day to see if Mendoza does fall. And then they make the decision of, okay, hey, let's flip picks with the Cardinals. We'll take on Kyler, his contract. We're not paying anyone for the next few years anyway. Basically a 2-year contract with someone that could win you some games immediately. And maybe you pick up some additional draft picks. Like maybe you get a second and a third round pick to do that flip, or just a second round pick or something like that to help bolster the rest of your roster. I don't see any way Crosby winds up coming over here. So Hunter, I'm not super on board. I think you're in the right spot, but I don't think it's likely.
Yeah, I mean that's like, and this is not meant with disrespect. Like that's my brain's like works here. That's way out here in this nether region, which I can't even get to.
Darrell comes in and says, trade back, collect picks, use the picks to draft best player available, draft Pavia or Trinidad in the second round, sign free agent quarterback. So Trinidad, if he gets the 6th year of eligibility, he's going back to school. He's going back to Ole Miss. Pavia, I don't particularly want to spend Pavia, sorry. Diego Pavia. I don't think I want to spend a pick that
I'm not spending any sort of capital on Diego Pavia. He's tiny. You know, he's
isn't he listed at like 5'11", and then you see him stand next to like the other Heisman guys? He's like a midget next to him.
He's gonna be Kyler Murray-esque, and he doesn't have that skill set that Kyler has that allows him to be able to play NFL football. So Pavia is not even a guy that I'm entertaining. But I will like to talk about this first part of this super chat here. I think trading back is something that we are just so ingrained in doing. Well, you know what? Just trade back and get more assets and so on and so forth. First off, you have to have a partner that wants to trade up if you're going to trade back, right? This ain't the class that does it, right? If there's a quarterback, if Dante Moore comes out, you're going to just take him. So you're not going to trade back. And if Dante Moore doesn't come out, you can't sell me on somebody that's willing to give up vital capital to trade up. So you might be able to get a trade partner, but you're not going to get the true value of the number 2 pick overall. You know what I mean? So this just is not a top heavy draft class. There's not a lot of elite talent at the top. It's much more of a second and third and fourth round that has good depth at certain positions. It's unlucky. It's unlucky that we got the second pick in this draft. You know, and not the second pick in 2020.
Yeah.
Or actually, we did have the second pick in 2021. We had the second pick and blew it, but I digress.
Now, what do you think about Chambliss? Because I've seen a lot of people like bring his name up recently. Like, do you think that would be worth a second round pick? Like, let's say it's 44.
I think he'd go in the second round. I think he would go in the second round. I have a third round grade on him. I think he does a lot of really good things. I think he's Kyler Murray without the $45 million contract. Game skill set is the same. Very, very live arm, can throw as well off platform and on the run as he can in the pocket. Probably does a little better of a job doing it because he's so small. Just a normal 3-step or a 5-step drop is difficult. But he's going to be sub 5, sub 6 feet tall, probably sub 5'11", probably more athlete than quarterback, but can definitely extend the play as good as anyone.
Jake Asman in the chat. What's up, dude? Says, what does Aaron Glenn do well as a head coach? My only thing I can say is that we have cut down the penalties a lot. And other than that, I don't really have a whole lot to say.
Have we cut them down a lot though, Ryan?
You know what? I actually don't know what the total number is, but we were ranked 32nd 3 of the last 4 years in penalties. So I think we're middle of the pack this year. I think we were right around 14, 15, 16, if memory serves.
Let's see. I'd like to push back on that a little bit.
I could be wrong.
What I will say, I
know for a fact we were 32nd in 3 of the last 4 years. That was
Jake Asman clearly doesn't realize that we have not let up one blocked field goal all year round.
Not one blocked field goal.
Not one blocked field goal all year.
Glass half full, my friends.
That's exactly the sad part is that's what Glenn said on the podium.
I saw
one of the things that he did good. I'm gonna get a shirt that says that.
That's terrible.
Let's see. Against. So, trying to see where they are. Oh, I guess you can go total flags or total counted. Doesn't matter.
Well, I would say ones that were declined still count as a penalty.
Okay, so total flags. And the Jets are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th in the league.
10th most or
With
10th least?
10th most.
Okay. So
With
not
135.
a whole, not a very
with
good
135, correct.
Not a good improvement.
10th overall for.
So then we were first using the same metrics. We were first in the NFL 3 of the last 4 years.
Yeah, well, that's 2025. So we were Jets 135 total flags, 909 yards against.
Mm-hmm.
In 24, let's see what we were.
I feel like I'm right on it. I could
161 total flags for almost 1,200 yards. We were second. We actually no, I'm sorry. We were tied for first.
Okay.
In 2024.
And then I want to say 20.
So we went from tied for
24
to 10th.
Go to 23. I'm almost positive it was like 21, 23
we were first.
Okay. And then I think 22 was better. And then I think 21 was back to first again.
22 we were towards the bottom. We're in the bottom easy bottom third. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 from the bottom. So we're the 9th best. 105. Okay. We had almost 65 more penalties in 23 than we had in 22.
So do you have anything that Aaron Glenn does well as a head coach?
I told you he's got the greatest field goal protection team ever known to man.
I love it.
I say that tongue in cheek, man. I say it tongue in cheek. Don't hate me, chat.
Mumtaz comes in and says, "Can't believe we traded away picks for 3rd, 5th, and 6th rounds. We do have a couple of later picks in the round, but would have been nice to have those picks. We just got worse with those trades." I'll be honest, I don't remember the 5th and 6th round trades. Like I know the 3rd was for Hassan Reddick last year.
So we traded. Here's what we did.
Was it a
3rd was
for
Hassan Reddick? The 3rd was for Hassan Reddick.
Yep.
The
Bills was one of them.
No, the Bills was we traded Codrington and got a 7th back from the Bills. The 5th round pick we gave up a 5th round pick to go up and get Tyler Barron.
Yes.
And the 4th round pick I think we gave up a 4th round pick to go up and get Malachi Moore.
So we gave up a 6th round pick to Vegas at some point. We gave up a 5th round pick to Tennessee at some point.
No, those are all byproducts. So those are trades. We gave up our 5th and our 6th. So we traded our 5th and our 6th at some point to Cleveland or Minnesota.
And those picks went elsewhere.
Parts of other deals. And those picks could possibly have gone elsewhere. Yes, correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at Tankathon, and it shows who had the original pick and who owns it now. So it says Jets to Tennessee, but yeah, I guess it could be some gaps in between that.
It could be to Tennessee.
Like the 4th round pick. No, we have our 4th.
We have our 4th. Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, look, we're gonna make some moves, slide around. Sometimes the draft trades you wind up getting like a later round pick, so you still have a contractually controllable player for a little bit. But Barron hasn't looked very good.
No, Barron's been pretty awful. The fact that he gave up any sort of asset in the future to go draft him, I gotta question.
Yeah.
But I give I'm not gonna knock a GM for his first draft class. I think that's a mistake. Not many GMs have good first draft classes.
NY Jets fandom says, Dom C, who are the impact game changers in this draft? We've kind of gone back and forth and saying there's not like a whole heck of a lot of them, but I think the blue chippers that I've heard people discuss are really Downs and Love, the running back from Notre Dame, as like the 2 guys that seem like the most locks.
Love is my highest rated player in the class.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a game changer for sure. I think if Jordan Tyson can somehow stay healthy, I think he has a chance to be the best. He's not my highest graded, but I think he has a chance to be the best wide receiver coming out of this class. He, to me, is a true alpha. He could be Justin Jefferson, in the sense of he becomes the team's number one really quick and becomes a top 5 player in the league really quick. Like, talent wise, there's no better wide receiver than him. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Ryan talked a little bit about Sonny Styles. Sonny Styles is my number 3 player in the class. He's an impact guy. I think you're going to see, I think you could see some impact players elsewhere in the linebacker. It's a deep linebacker class. Anthony Hill Jr. from Texas, I think, flies around all over the place. I like Lander Barton, the Utah off-ball linebacker as well. I think he's really good. Impact, I have, if I had to guess, whoever asked that, who was it? I can't even see it. New York Jets fandom. If I had to guess your impact player that's coming out of this draft, if it's not Jermaine, 5 years from now, we're going to look back and say it's either, the running back Love or one of the 2 quarterbacks.
Tank for Ty says, assuming Moore goes back to school, how far would you trade up from 16 to draft Ty Simpson? Would need to jump the Rams and maybe Miami. Trade package?
No,
question mark. I would say I don't want to trade up. If your thought was to trade up for Ty Simpson, I'd rather take him at 2 than give up extra assets to go get him. I'm not there on Ty Simpson. And didn't he just enter the transfer portal? Am I wrong on that?
He's not sure yet, the last I heard. But I don't think that, the Rams pick 11th or 12th.
Yeah, something
I don't
like
think
that.
I don't
they
think
are
they're
13th.
gonna. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna. You have to worry about Ty Simpson that high. Now, listen. There's a lot of time left between now and the draft. No one was talking about a lot of guys.
Bo Nix, Penix, McCarthy. All those guys were not
nobody knew who Tyler Shuck was at this point last year. Right?
Yeah, it's true.
So
Jake comes in and says, I talked up Mendoza since game 1. Hope you're proud that I saw it, Dom. I don't see anything else this draft. You think it's worth waiting until 2027? I think Jet fans would be fine waiting. I don't think Glenn can wait till 2027.
Yeah, can you like the let's wait on a quarterback thing? The people who fall on that side of the fence, like, I think we've established that the quarterback is probably the single most important player in any sport, right? It's got the, kind of wears the most on his shoulders. And now in this day and age in the NIL, we see what's happening, right? Because a handful of the guys that were supposed to make this class the best ever all went back to school. You know what I mean? And it's not. So what happens if that happens again next year?
Yeah, guys can stay in school again. I mean, there's going to be guys that do come out, but it might be like Nussmeier and Klubnik, who were supposed to be top guys. Now they're looked at as 2nd, 3rd, 4th round players. Allar too.
Yeah.
So lot can change.
There's no guarantee, and I don't think, like I said, can you imagine sitting through another 5-12 season with, Tyrod Taylor and the likes of another UDFA like Brady Cook at the helm? We threw for, almost 1,700 less yards than we did last year.
Our top receiver didn't play since October.
our top, top receiver, and he had less than 400 yards or 400 yards, less than 500 yards.
It was like 376 or something like that. It was
can you imagine what Garrett Wilson would feel like? He would demand a trade.
Yeah.
You
gotta get a quarterback.
It just can't happen. Yeah, it just can't happen.
Let's say, quick tangent, and there's a no trade clause in this conversation, but let's say Baltimore decides to get a little freaky and they wanted to switch things up. Dante Moore comes out. Would you give up number 2 straight up for Lamar with his contract?
What's the contract? I got to look at the contract.
Contract is, I'll tell you in just one second.
See, the problem, and listen, I probably would, because I think Lamar's good.
Yeah, I think he's a stud.
But here's the problem.
You're talking 50. Hold on. I'm not exactly sure how this option bonus is structured. It's either 51 or like 60 million each of the next 2 years. I think it's 51 and 51 the next 2 years.
Here's the problem. Is the body just finally starting to break down? He's coming up on 30 years old.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if that was the case.
For just the number 2 pick, if that's what it was, I would make the trade. And I would gamble on his body not breaking down for another 4 years at least. And then hopefully you catch lightning in a bottle and it works out.
I'd probably say the same.
I don't think he'd waive his no trade clause though, so it's probably all for nothing. Ace says, is Josh Allen the best quarterback project coach-up job ever? I'm going to say no. I don't know offhand who I'd say is. I think they did a hell of a job, and I think he was a super raw quarterback coming out, but he had all that talent. People thought he was the best quarterback in that draft class coming out, and it was just a matter of who could develop him. So
yeah, you know what? You know who might be? Brock Purdy.
I was going to say the same exact thing because he's Mr. Irrelevant, and he gets the massive contract. He's on a playoff team, and we were looking at the playoff quarterbacks. Basically, everyone's a top 12 pick that's in the playoffs right now as quarterback, with the exception of Aaron Rodgers, who went 23, Purdy, who went 262, and
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts went 52 or something like that, or 42, or top of the second round. Outside of that, it's all very high picks. I would agree with you on Purdy there. Red John
Ryan,
says,
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Hypothetical. You're talking veteran trading quarterbacks. Now, obviously, you talked about Lamar. You have to choose. Would you rather take Kyler or would you rather take Tua? Kyler and Kyler's contract, or Tua and Tua's contract?
Let me just look up Tua's. I think I would take Kyler. I feel like Tua's contract is so big. If Tua got cut, if both players got cut, I would take.
You think Tua can hang in the cold?
You know what? I don't know if Kyler can either, though. He's so small. On a contract basis.
Kyler played at Oklahoma. It was cold in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, I would say colder. So they're both on comparable-ish contracts. Tua would be $39 million next year. He would be $36 million in 27, and he would be $48 million in 28. So you'd be taking on a 2-year contract, pretty high. If they were both cut, then you'd make a decision. I just don't know if Tua can stay healthy. That's my biggest thing. I don't particularly like Kyler either, though.
Yeah.
Which one would you go with?
I might go with the leap right off the Brooklyn Bridge. If I had to make a decision.
Red John says, thoughts on wide receiver Ian Strong and quarterback AK of Rutgers.
Yeah, Ian Strong has entered the portal, so he's not coming. He's not coming out, and I never know how to say his name. Is it Kalakamanis? It's one of those nice Greek names. Yeah, it's probably going to be an undrafted guy. You're talking about a guy who's an older prospect. He played well this year. He's got a little zip in his arm. He's got a little size. He's not the worst thing in the he's not the worst thing in the world. And it's 𝐂𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐿. I said Kalakamanis. 𝐂𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐿. He's got a little zip in his arm. I think he can probably hang on in some camps. Listen, if Sam Hartman is still in camp with the Washington Commanders 3 years after the fact, I think Kalakamanis can do the same.
Jake says, I want to trade back every time and take a kicker. I'm down to draft a kicker late.
Motherfuckers.
Burn one of those late rounders. Don't give a shit. You like a kicker? Go get him. Going to skip down to Boogie Down Bronx. Drops in a 10 spot. Thank you, dude. Says, I have major questions about Glenn's evaluation skills. Not sure he's very good at that. This season proved that. I have major questions about Glenn's Evaluation skills, not sure. Oh, he just double pasted it. I would say I don't know if it's so much Glenn's evaluation skills as much as it is his coaching skills that I'm concerned with. Like, I felt like the Fields decision, regardless of who the head coach was going to be, was probably going to be the move for the Jets to just kind of give it a year, try to get someone that the team might be interested in, like from the player's perspective, with Garrett's connection to him and Rutgers' connection to him and all that. I'll say I disagree with the evaluation side of things, but I don't have a whole lot of leg to stand on because it might entirely be his evaluation. I think it's his coaching is a bigger issue than the evaluation side of things. What are your thoughts on this?
I still think there's so much to be determined on what Glenn is, and I don't know what he's evaluating. And I mean that wholeheartedly, like good and bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we talked about some of the trades that he made, right? Juwan Briggs, Jarvis Brownlee, some
Phillips.
of those moves we all seem to like, right? Now, is that Muji and his team's evals and getting rubber stamped by Glenn, or is Glenn involved in making the decisions? I don't know, So I think there's so many questions left to be answered by Glenn, and unfortunately, my gut tells me that they're not all going to end up in a positive manner. Not going to end up with sunshine and rainbows.
I would agree. Romani AD jumps in here, says, "Hey guys, what's your take on Todd McShay's comments? He stated that no one wants to be a Jet. I mean, I'll be honest. If you got players talking candidly, especially quarterbacks at the top of a draft class, there's probably not many that openly want to be a Jet, but the competitors, like, I think if you had like a Baker Mayfield or someone that's like a little bit more of like a gritty guy says, hey, I could turn that team around. Like, I'm good enough to go there and break the mold. If you have someone that's like weak-minded and is thinking, oh, we don't want to be a Jet, it's not a player you want to draft anyway. And I would say McShay's comments are more based on his feelings with the Jets letting go of Joe Douglas and them being former roommates and playing football together at Richmond than it is based in any sort of reality. Because if you're looking at the top of the draft class, there's not really better weapons and better offensive line that you could be coming into as a quarterback. I mean, yeah, you could like Genty, you could like Bowers, but the Jets' offensive line is still better. Like Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall on a franchise tag, Mason Taylor, plus our offensive line probably looks more appealing than a lot of other options at the top of the draft, short of like the Rams coming up from 13 to number 1 or 2 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to, like I said, I love McShay, but I take everything he says about the Jets with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Rock and Rant says, absolutely trade back. Neither are worth 1 or 2. I disagree. I think Mendoza's worth number 1 all day. I'm not quite there on Moore, but I would take him 2 if
I think in this class, they're both worth 1 or 2.
Yeah. JRC says, if Moore is not possible, what about Robertson?
Sawyer Robertson, Baylor. I'll give you some details on Sawyer because I'll be boots on the ground in a couple weeks in
Senior Bowl
in Mobile, Senior Bowl. Who Garrett Nussmeier just accepted a bid today. So
I like
quarterback. The quarterback room is going to be interesting down there. Yeah, I don't know about Sawyer Robertson. My evals for the quarterback class, and I have full. I have full grades on 16 of them, and I've watched. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I got full grades on 21 of them because 5 of them already went back to school. And I can tell you wholeheartedly, I haven't had as many. Yeah, you're probably looking at a career backup, or he's going to be a practice squad hanger on. I got a lot of that vibes from this quarterback class. It was a lot different when it was Mendoza and Moore and Simpson was hot and Jaden Mavea and Mensa and Sorsby when they were all in it. It still looked good, but now they're not all in there. So you get like Mendoza, you get Moore. Some people still like Simpson, who I think Simpson's good. I think Simpson's fine. I think Simpson just isn't there yet. You know what I mean? He needs a little bit more time, but he's a guy I would take a dart throw on. Just not as high as we're picking. Not at 2, not at 16. So
NYC or NY Coder Bear says, if Moore comes out and we draft him, is he quarterback 3 all year? If so, we can't even evaluate properly before next year's draft. It's Mendoza or bust for me. If the Jets draft Moore, he's going to play next year at some point. He'll be quarterback 2, and then we'll have someone like Marcus Mariota, another former Oregon quarterback, high draft pick, number 2 overall, might be able to provide a little bit of guidance. Maybe it's someone like a Kirk Cousins as a bridge or something like that. But I think you would get about half the year, let him really get his feet wet in the NFL landscape and try to get up to speed a little bit more, and then you will see him. I don't know where you're getting quarterback 3 from. Who you think, like, are the Jets going to bring 2 quarterbacks in ahead of him? I don't see that. And as far as Mendoza or bust, I do like Mendoza more. Like, if you can tell me there was some way to flip picks with the Raiders and they're happy getting Dante Moore at 2 and we can get Mendoza at 1, I'd consider doing that.
Would you give up the Dallas pick?
I would to get.
I mean, I'm sure it would take more, but I'm sure it would take more than that 1 pick. But
I would do that though. Yeah, I think Mendoza's legit. I really do.
Yep.
Any thoughts on this quarterback 3 comment that Coder said?
No, I don't know if he needs to be quarterback 3. I think he's saying quarterback 3, meaning like he doesn't see the field, period.
Yeah, like on our roster, like we're bringing in 2 guys. Like, are you going to put Cook ahead of him or something?
Well,
like Fields.
A lot of people have that idea that that might be the best way to go about it. If you do draft him, you draft a guy that's going to be your starter, and then you draft a backup. Kind of look at the quarterback room that the Giants put together, right? They drafted Jackson Dart. They signed what's his face?
Russ and
Winston, and then they brought in Russ to be the starter, the bridge. Winston's really there not because of what he does on the field, but more so to help a young quarterback in the locker room, to help a young quarterback with preparation and be that kind of coach with pads.
It's McCown, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So, Brian, I know you were time crunched. Yeah,
I talked to Scott. I got another 10 minutes. So if you're good, we'll go through some of these super chats, get everyone's comments in here. Darrell says, I said we needed to hire Rex Ryan. Get a motherfucking snack.
Oof.
I don't think I'd rather have the fond memories of Rex that we have than see a round 2 of Rex and get like an Aaron Glenn level competency. So I'm not on the Rex Ryan train at all. Jake.
Yeah, me neither, man.
Comes in, says, we had a top 6 special teams of DVOA, top 6 since stats started. Look up defenses. Yeah, our defense and offense, I think, were both 32, and then our special teams was, I think it was number 1 this year, and then I think it was like number 3 all time, right?
Yeah, that's it. It was number 3 all time. You're right.
Yeah, that's crazy. We wasted an amazing special teams year on just such a dog shit team. It's like super frustrating.
You can think of it that's a half empty way to think about it. The better half empty way to think about it is we had this fucking special teams team that was so fluky, gave us 2 wins that we shouldn't have had.
Yeah. I mean, not even like just like the kick return touchdowns. We had Will McDonald jumping over and getting a field goal return for a touchdown too. That like very easily could have been another win. That wound up.
Ryan, there's been 4 times in NFL history. 4 times in NFL history that a team has won by a touchdown or less, and that winning team has scored 2 special team touchdowns. We've done it twice. We're 2 of the 4 times. The Jets did it years ago as well, but we did it the Chad Morton game.
Yeah,
but we did that in Cleveland. And we almost did it in Atlanta. We would have done it in Atlanta if Stiggers didn't recover the ball on the 2-yard line and just let the ball travel into the end zone.
Yep. Man, that would have been
4 times
absolutely
in the
wild.
history of the NFL, something like that's happened. You're telling me that's not fluky?
That's super fluky. Super fluky. Blitz comes in and says, AG is great at finding special teams coaching.
Hey, you got to listen. I'll tip my cap to Chris Banjo.
Yeah, Banjo's a stud. Love him. Fletch says, you have to give Gren credit for our excellent special teams if you're going to give him blame for everything else. Fair. You know what? But Banjo may not come in if it's not for Glenn and his relationship with Sean Payton and all those guys. So sure, I can absolutely give him credit for that. I don't give him credit necessarily for how the special teams played. I'd give that credit to Banjo, but Banjo's only here because Glenn's here. So
correct.
Fair enough. Dan says, round 1, Dante Moore and Mekhi Lemon. Round 2, Caleb Banks and TJ Parker. Parker. I don't know Parker.
Edge from Clemson. Yeah. So that for me, who said that? I can't see it. Whoever
that is
said that.
Dan Carson.
Dan Carlson. That'd be wonderful. I'd be completely content with that. I don't think either Banks or Parker make it to round 2. I think they're both first round selections.
Yeah, it looks like
now you can actually. I shouldn't say that because we have pick 33, so there's a lot more of a possibility. But I don't think all 4 of those guys make it to pick 44. I'll say it like that.
Now, we didn't really touch on pick 33 all that much. We brought it up very briefly, but like, what's your feelings on that pick? Would you rather make the pick at 33? Do you like the idea of trading up to get the extra year, like 5th year option on a player? Or do you like the idea of maybe moving down after teams have had a night of like discussion? Like maybe there's a situation where the Jets fall to like middle of the 2nd round and they pick up a 3rd round pick. Like, is that more advantageous than making the pick at 33?
Well, I'll say it like this. I don't expect the Jets to make all 4 of those picks in the top 44. Mm-hmm. So one way or another, I think picks are going to get moved. My gut would tell me that they'll move down with one of those 2nd round picks. Probably to acquire a 3rd round pick so they don't have it because they have a gap from
like
44 to 104. Yeah. So my guess is that they'll probably try to work down. Mainly you can when you do the math, you can get a 3rd round pick and still acquire capital for next year for the value of that pick 33, which is very valuable. So that's the most called for. That's the one pick that everyone's going to want because after number 1, it's the most valued pick because teams are still going to have guys on their board. They're going to regroup. They're going to think the value is still there. They're going to, pay you through the moon for it. So yes, I'd be open to trading it, trading down with it. I'd also be open to trading up with it if a Ty Simpson on the board was my, and I wanted to get that 5th year. Maybe I move up a couple spots and, and give up that pick in a 7th round or something like that.
Yeah, back end of the 1st round, teams like Denver, 31 currently right now. Like if they're sitting late in the draft, you got the connection with Muji. Maybe there's a little, action that could happen between the 2 teams.
Yeah, and hey, listen, Denver, we're taking a quarterback. You have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, we're not taking your guy. You're dropping back. 31 has them. Obviously is the other team in the Super Bowl versus the Seahawks.
Yeah,
but like let's say they're picked 26 through 32. I think that would to me seem like the most likely trade partner in that part of the draft.
Agreed.
All right, boys and girls, we have reached that 10 o'clock hour. It's been a lot of fun. Dom's going to be with us tomorrow night, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, talking Jets with the Talking Jets panel. Dom, any last words tonight before tomorrow?
No, man. Be on the lookout. I got some videos posted on my channel, Project Prospect with Dom C. I'll link the link to the videos will be found on my Twitter. So if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see them. If you don't, please do at DC_NYJets.
I love it. Boys and girls, it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you. our poll question finished up. 67% of people think that Dante Moore is going to declare for the draft. That's 360 votes worth of people. If you're watching this after the fact, feel free to drop your comments down below the stream after it's aired, and we'll take a look at them and see. I'll get back to all you guys in the comment section. But I appreciate you guys all hanging out with us for another night, and we'll see you tomorrow. JETS.